Hi, this is Tom Santos, Lesson 4 of the Flour Detective, wheat classes and treatments. We're finally talking about flour. Three things for wheat: growing season, brand color, kernel harvest. Those three things are how we classify flour. There's two seasons: winter wheat, spring wheat. Winter wheat, planted in the late fall, goes dormant over the winter, harvested in the late spring, early summer. Breadbasket of America, Kansas, and the surrounding states around there. That's where the winter wheat is primarily grown. Winter wheat has a 10 to 12% protein, so not quite as much stretch or chew as a spring wheat. And winter wheat, you're looking like an H&R flour. Think of H&R flour. And you move up a little on the protein level to like a Neapolitan style flour or a Harvest King or our new Di or Din Farina type flour. So it would go from say 10% to uh, about 12% on the winter wheat. So again, not a ton of stretch. Winter wheat is also a soft wheat like a cake flour or pastry flour. So that would be like a batter. There's very little protein in it, so you can't create a dough. You would create a batter. We'll get more into that on the next chapter. Spring wheat, planted in the spring, grows during the summer, harvested in the late fall. Now, spring wheat has a lot more protein, 12.5 to 14.5%. And spring wheat's protein is developed because the heat of the summer. Heat stresses the wheat plant, and heat develops gluten. When the wheat plant gets stressed, it creates protein. That protein creates gluten when it's mixed. So if you're thinking of a spring wheat, think of full strength of superlative at that 12.5% level, all the way up to an all Trump balancer or so strong on the Pillsbury side, 14.2 to 14.5. More stretch, more chew. So more tenacity and more stretch on spring wheat, a little less tenacity, a little less stress on winter wheat. Hard kernel, soft kernel. A hard kernel, you need a hammer to break it. Soft kernel, you could crush it with your fingers. So it's soft. The only time you're going to be using a soft kernel or soft wheat would be to make a cake or pastry flour. Again, because you're looking to make a batter rather than a dough. I want to talk about flour treatments, and I'm going to get a little bit more involved in that because I get a lot of questions either online, phone calls, and when I'm at Pete's Expo. These are three things, or two of them, the bleaching and bromating, constantly come up. And I think as a good salesperson or a good flour detective to help your customer, if you understand it, you could talk to them and you could probably help them, especially if they are using a bleach and bromated flour. Bleaching just speeds up the oxidation. Years ago, they would mill the flour, put it to the side for 4 to 6 weeks where it naturally oxidized and turn a little brighter, and then sell it. Now they could do it. We could do it with a bleaching agent. That said, it's not like we're taking a gallon of bleach and pouring it into a bag of flour. This is parts per million. It is infinitesimally small amounts of a bleaching agent we're using there. But it still has to be labeled on the bag. And many of you know in this clean label environment, everybody's looking at labels. I always give the analogy when I'm talking at Pizza Expo. Walk down an aisle in a supermarket, and I guarantee you will by three people, two of them are looking at a label. So it's very important. Bleaching, to use an unbleached flour versus a bleached flour, in the pizza industry has really there's not going to be any effect on the pizza. When you're mixing it in the bowl, it'll come out of the bowl just a shade darker than normal. But that's the way flour is supposed to look. Um, the pizza will bake the same. The pizza will taste the same. It has no, taste effect on the pizza. So as far as pizza goes, and even breads, especially functionality, you're not going to lose any by using an unbleached flour. Bleaching is important for a cake flour because of the absorption of liquids in a cake. Bromating, very bad word, it's become a bad word in the industry as far as customers are concerned. People are getting away from the bromated flour. General Mills doesn't sell bromate west of the Rockies. Bromate in California, if you use a bromated flour, you have to label the product that you're using bromate as a warning. Bromate is potassium bromate, helps mature the dough, makes it a little easier to handle, but again, infinitesimal, small amounts of bromate, parts per million. You take a full room, and go like that, and that's about as much bromate as in flour. That said, it still has to be labeled, and people are very conscious of bromate. If you think I'm kidding, go and Google bromate and just see what comes up. I'm not going to get into is it justified or not. That isn't for me to say. But in the industry and with the clean label ways we're seeing out there, bromate does have a bad connotation. So that's something you could talk to your customer about. If they wanted to not use a bromated flour, all they really would have to do is mix it a little long. They really don't need to change the formula or recipe. It's just probably mixing it a minute or two longer. We've changed hundreds of thousands of bags from treated flour, bleach bromate, to untreated flour over the last 7 or 8 years. It's more getting the customer to buy in, but if you tell them, and they understand that because they'll come to Pizza Expo, or they'll come someplace that we're doing a demonstration. That's one of the first questions they ask. So if you're proactive about it and talk to them about it, you'll get a good response to it. Enrichment quickly is replacing the vitamins and minerals lost during the milling process. It happened during World War II when the American diet was pretty poor. The government asked that the millers replace the vitamins and minerals. Almost all flours have it, except Deep cream or Dean Farina, that's wheat in the bag, or the Neapolitan flour, same thing. If you look at the gold medal, all trumps, that is enriched, but most flours are enriched. So that's a quick lesson in flour classes and treatments. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, tom.santos@genmills.com. Thank you.